The honor system is, of course, central to Washington and Lee, has been for seemingly all time. It's a point of pride for current members of the community and certainly for alumni. Talk with us a little bit about your impressions of the Washington and Lee honor system.
Yeah, the honor system is such a distinguishing feature of this place, has been for a long time, still is. Again, it's in the mission statement, so it was a topic of my
You
course.
covered a lot of ground.
We covered a lot of important ground. And I often ask students why they chose to come to Washington and Lee, and the students we have here are some of the best high school students in the country, so they have a lot of options, and I'm always curious, why did you choose Washington and Lee in comparison to other schools? And one of the answers I hear most frequently is the honor system. High school kids, I think, have a hunger to be at a place where they can trust their peers and where they are expected, likewise, to be trustworthy. Who wouldn't want to live in a community like that? And the whole world should be that way, but unfortunately it's not. And so this place, I think, stands out in virtue of that, and that attracts the kind of people who want to live in that sort of community.
So you would say that thread continues through today's
Absolutely,
students?
Absolutely it does. Students take quite a lot of pride in upholding that long-standing commitment and tradition. And of course, I think that's very widespread throughout our community. Of course, the honor system is student-run and administered, which is another very special feature of it. You yourself were the president of the executive committee, and
some 50 or 60 years ago.
It wasn't yesterday, but how important that work is and the seriousness with which you took it. And the young people I've met who are on the executive committee in the last couple of years and the presidents of the executive committee are just extraordinary. The very first W&L student I ever met was when I was a candidate for this job, and the search committee included trustees and distinguished faculty members and senior administrators and alumni like yourself. Thank you for hiring me. And this one student who was a sophomore who happened to be the president of the executive committee that year, Mason Grice. He was probably 19 years old, and he conducted himself like a full-blown adult throughout that process, and it made a huge impression on me.
Right out of Rockbridge County.
Right out of Rockbridge County. And when my own kids who are college age have come to visit W&L, and I've thought about, well, who am I going to send them out with on this, weekend evening to make sure that they don't get into trouble? I've sent them out with Mason Grice and Elizabeth Mugo, who's the current president of the executive committee. I trust them with my own kids.
Talk a little bit about Elizabeth. That was a moment for us.
Elizabeth is a fantastic young woman. She's an African-American woman, the first African-American woman to be the president of the student body and executive committee. She's from Columbia, South Carolina. She was one of the people that I asked to serve on the Commission on Institutional History, which I know we'll talk more about in a moment. And she's just a tremendous leader on campus.